Hello and welcome to the educational video about teenage pregnancy. Teenage pregnancy is a nuisance that affects 2,000 of young people around the world. Today we will explore the experience, challenges and perspective of those involved, from adolescents themselves to health professionals and education. Adolescent pregnancy occurs when a young woman between the age of 13 and 19 becomes pregnant. This phenomenon can have profound implications for the life of the teenager, her family, and her community. There are several causes that can lead to a teenage pregnancy. These include
lack of sex education. Many adolescents do not receive adequate information about sexual and reproductive health. Peer pressure. Social pressure can influence the sexual decisions of adolescents. And finally, socioeconomic factors. Conditions of poverty and lack of opportunities can increase the risk of teenage pregnancy. Adolescent pregnancy can bring with it several consequences, both physically, emotionally, and socially.
educational interruption. Many young women drop out of school due to pregnancy, which affects their future opportunities. Economic consequence. Early pregnancy can lead to financial difficulties both for the mother and her family. Emotional impact. Teenagers may experience stress, anxiety, and depression. Educational interruption. Many young women drop out of school due to pregnancy, which affects their future opportunities. Let's now listen to the story of Anna, a young woman who got pregnant at the age of 16.
At first, I felt lost and scared. I didn't know how I was going to handle everything. But over time, I found support in my family and my community organizations that helped me move forward.
A story like Anna shows us the importance of support and resilience in the difficult times. After listening to Anna, we did some interviews with some questions about the topic. Do you think teenage pregnancy is a problem in your community? Because
whether teen pregnancy is a problem in my community, I don't think that is the case. In fact, I just looked and the statistics say that is the lowest it has been in 100 years. And so, particularly where I live, it's not a problem. But I think it's a much higher issue in Colombia and in certain areas more than others.
Hello, I am Laura, and today I am going to answer to the question for the documentary. So, the first question is a teenage pregnancy problem in your community? Why? Of course, teenage pregnancy is a problem in many communities because it often leads to interrupted education, limited career opportunities, and increased health risks for both the mother and the child. This is the first question for my opinion. So the second question is, what role should parents play in the sexual education of their children? So maybe parents should play a crucial role in sexual education by providing information, open communication, and promoting healthy. This helps children make informed and responsible decisions.
what role do you think parents should play in the children's sexual education?
I think the role of the parents is very important, and it starts from a very early age, teaching their children about things like consent, and what can happen and cannot happen with their bodies, things like touching, and helping them enforce that respect for their bodies and their body autonomy, regardless of who the person is that is trying to transgress those lines or cross those lines. So there is that. Then there is also teaching your children what sex is about and the many shapes that it can take, and what appropriate behaviors are according to your age. When it comes to things like contraceptives and self-protection, when you feel like your children are kind of entering that stage, it's also important to teach them that it's not just about pregnancy. It's a main factor and is the topic of this conversation, teen pregnancies. But it's also about sexually transmitted diseases that are equally damaging depending on what is that you get. So contraception plays a very important role in also protecting yourself from that. And so it's not just pregnancy. It's more than that. And so teaching them what the role of the protection is and how holistic it can be. It's not just a single issue. And also helping them to identify what risky situations look like more broadly and how to protect themselves and how to navigate risk and how to distance themselves from risky situations, but also explaining them what to do if they materialize. And so, for example, what happens if they have an accident and they want to react really swiftly? What are the tools at their disposal? And also giving them access to medical support is very important.
What measures do you think should be taken to support teenagers who become pregnant?
So, prevention is the first thing, and it's crucial to ensure that you have all the preventative measures in place, because avoiding a problem is much better than solving one. Then, if there is a teenage pregnancy, I think the first thing to consider is to support pregnant teenagers is information. I think that is critical. Access to information regarding the potential options that they have at their disposal, what those options look like, by when they need to decide on what options. And so, for example, depending on the legal situation where this is allowed or not, a termination could be an alternative, but it has time frames if you really want to make it successfully and avoiding risks in the long term for your own reproductive health. Then by when you need to decide on certain things, that is important. The upside of taking a particular pathway and the downsides. And then how you execute on your choice, right? And so where do you need to go? What is the medical support you need? Any kind of, for example, if there is need for a recovery period, what are the kind of steps that you need to take? And also what that looks like for a variety of alternatives. And so, for example, if you choose to carry on with the pregnancy, what that looks like for the teenager and what support is at their disposal, and also enabling them to make choices that put them in a good place for their own future and their children's future. And so how can that be done effectively? And so things like if you want to continue education, how you get access to funding, how you get access to childcare, and how you craft a plan that allows you to continue preparing yourself for the future, and to set yourself up for financial success so that you can support your children, etc. And so things like that. How do you plan for that? Information on that and family support for sure. That is crucial.
So the third question is, what steps should be taken to support pregnant teenagers? So I think steps should include providing comprehensive healthcare education support to continue their studies, and counseling service and access to children care. Creating supportive environment can help young mothers and their childs achieve better outcomes. So the fourth question is, What role should the community play in preventing teenage pregnancy? The community should be involved in providing education or sexual health, providing access to contraception, and creating supportive networks for teenagers, school health care, and school sexual educations. And that's it.
Prevention is key to reducing pregnancy rates in adolescents. Here are some effective strategies. Comprehensive sex education. Provide complete, accurate information about sexuality, contraception, and healthy relationship. Access to contraceptives. Ensure that adolescents have access to safe and effective contraceptive methods. Open communication. Encourage dialogue between parents and children about sexuality and relationships. Empowering other people. Promote self-esteem and skill to make informed and responsible decisions. There are numerous resources and organizations that offer support to pregnant adolescents and those who seek to prevent pregnancy. If you need help or more information, do not hesitate to seek support in your community or online. If you need help or more information, do not hesitate to seek support in your community or online.